Welcome to Faith Positive Radio with Dr. Joey Fawcett, the Christian business coaching conversation that increases your faith with greater joy at work so you love God and others more. Dr. Joey interviews Christian business professionals just like you to discover their secrets for working faith positive in a negative world. Welcome to Faith Positive Radio with Dr. Joey Fawcett.
Hey, Faith Positive Nation, Dr. Joey Fawcett here with another great episode of Faith Positive Radio. Thank you so much for listening, for tuning in. Some of you watch it on YouTube and through our website at getpositive.today. Thanks for all that. We really so much appreciate the Faith Positive community that's growing up all over the world. The opportunity that I have to meet some incredible Jesus followers who are putting their faith into practice at work and finding meaningful ways. And man, one of the great benefits of this job as the Faith Positive Radio host is that I get to learn so much from all of our guests. And today's going to be another learning opportunity for me as well as for you, because today's guest is in the midst right now. I mean, this is month 8 of what I would refer to as a life crisis. Now, the Chinese, in spelling the word crisis, use 2 characters, one meaning danger and the second meaning opportunity. So really, danger and opportunity are twin sides of the same coin, right? They're both sides of the same coin. And so we find ourselves, even as Jesus followers, experiencing the brokenness of this world and things that happen that we didn't plan on happening, didn't know were going to happen, didn't even know could happen. Well, today's guest is experiencing one of those along with his wife and in the birth of their first child. And so this child, as you'll discover in a few moments, was born with a rare birth defect that has caused him, as of this recording, to be in the hospital for the first 8 months of his life. And yet today's guest has been able to, through the grace of God, he and his wife have been able to persevere, but also he's been able to continue to work and to run a business which is provided for his family. And so this is a story of triumph. We don't know the end of the story because there are a lot more chapters to be written, and you'll hear more about that. But we do know who is writing those chapters in this story, and that is the good Lord himself. So today's episode is a testimony of faith, of perseverance through adversity, and of God's grace seeing us through any experience and any opportunity that we have to trust him more. So without further ado, let me introduce you to today's guest. Ty Morgan from infiniteplanning.org is my guest today. Ty, welcome to Faith Positive Radio, my friend.
Hey, Dr. Joey. It's very nice to meet you, and we're absolutely ecstatic to be on your show and thankful for the opportunity to share our story with your audience.
Oh, man, we are glad to have you here today. Ty is located in sunny Tampa, Florida. So shout out to all of our Floridian listeners. And he grew up in Alabama. So shout out to all of our Alabamians.
Yep, roll Tide there, Dr. Joey. Roll Tide.
See, now, man, I got as many Auburn fans that are friends as I do Bama friends. So you just offended half of all the people I know from Alabama, because it's about evenly split in the state, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And we still, except on Saturdays when we play, we look out for the War Eagle and the Roll Tide. We all get along. But yeah, except for that third weekend in November.
And then there's like a buildup on either side a week before and a week after, right? That's all you talk about.
The state shuts down and a lot of buildup there.
Right. Well, I am sure that countries have gone to war over smaller things than the Roll Tide versus War Eagle football game each year. But anyway, and we won't even go into what's happening in the SEC right now, will we? No, we won't talk about that.
No, we won't. We won't go through that.
But it's a great
another episode.
Yeah, being an ACC guy myself, right? It is talking about that third weekend in November every fall that is filled with adversity, right? So it's a great lead-in segue into what we're going to talk about today. I don't guess any fights have broken out over this, but anyway, so you and your wife have been married 3 years, And we're recording this in August of 21. And in January of 21, your life's changed. Your first child was born.
Absolutely. And Dr. Joey, it's actually our second child.
It's your second child. My bad.
Yes, sir. No, not a problem at all. We had, me and my wife, actually, we met in college, and we had our first child in college. And we've stayed together through that and gotten married. And then our second child was born in this January. And nice. We had some adversity that we both graduated college on the same day. I graduated December 17th with my master's, and my wife graduated with her bachelor's. And off to the real world we went and overcame that adversity, and we started trying and had our second child. And we did it the right way this time, by the book. And this time, this baby boy, God sent us a little bit of adversity with our son. He was diagnosed with bilateral renal agenesis, and that means the absence of kidneys, or commonly known as Potter syndrome. And so we had to relocate our family once we got that diagnosis for a couple of months in order to have him born on a trial program. And we just wanted to share that today with you. And we can go into as much depth as your audience would like, or what you see fit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you mentioned it almost casually, and I'm sure it's an everyday reality for you, but just to help Faith Positive Nation understand. So he was literally born without kidneys.
Yes, sir. So we got the diagnosis on September 29th of 2020. We went to a specialist there that is for children that are in utero. He was in week 18. They did an hour-long ultrasound, and noted this is 2020. We're still in the COVID times, so I was not allowed into the ultrasound. So my wife is in there for an hour getting an ultrasound done with this specialist. And she gives me, I was on FaceTime with her, and she gives me a call on the FaceTime. She gives me a notification that I'm allowed to come in. So they take us to a room, and they sit us down, and the doctor comes in. But before the doctor comes in, and before I went into the building, I knew, obviously we're at the specialist, so I knew there was potential for something to be wrong. I just took a deep breath, paused, and just said, God, I don't know what to say in these moments, but whatever I need to say to my wife, please allow me to say it. And so we go into this room. At this time, my wife has my mother-in-law on the phone with her on FaceTime so that she can see us when the news is being delivered. And the first thing I said to my wife is, no matter what this doctor tells us, we're not aborting. We're not aborting this child. So that's the first statement that I made. And
but
then
in
after
fact,
that,
abortion was one of only two options he presented.
Absolutely. So the option, the doctor came in and gave us our options. Option number one is what he recommended and referred us to, is to an abortion clinic. And then the second option would be, hey, the only thing that you could do is try to carry this baby full term, but because of his absence of kidneys, he will not be able to produce amniotic fluid, which is what is produced. It's basically urine, and that's what grows your lungs, because in utero you swallow the amniotic fluid, and that develops your lungs. And so he said he's never going to be able to do that, so he's going to be stillborn, and you might get 15 minutes to an hour with him being stillborn.
Wow.
And
those are daunting options.
Yeah, they absolutely were. So I just have always been very thorough in school and work. And what I decided was, I was like, hey, doc, can you just get me this diagnosis, get me the details, and get me all your reports? So I still have those scanned documents saved. And he said that there was 0% chance of life. And then there was a third option that he did not verbally speak to us. So I'm thankful that I asked for those documents. There was a third option where they could do a trial solution of injecting fluid that would act as amniotic fluid for our son. So once we found that out, we started doing our research, and within a 7-day time period, we'd found 2 sites in the United States that were conducting what is called the RAFT trial. That's RAFT, and they have a website. If you would like more information on it, I can get that to you. But the RAFT trial was done at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, Maryland, and at Stanford University. They had a trial program. And the trial is to inject serial amnio infusion, so saline solution, into the utero sac while my wife is pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And so throughout that time, we did a total of 25 amnio infusions. So my wife completed 25 amnio infusions into her abdomen for Brayson to be able to develop his lungs.
Mm-hmm.
And he started out, once per week and then twice per week. And as he got bigger, he was doing his job and growing his lungs. So he got to 3 times per week. We were taking her to the hospital to get amnio.
Wow. So you
injections.
relocated to Baltimore then in order to have these injections?
Yes, sir. We sure did. So September, we got the diagnosis. October, we had to do testing to be accepted into the trial.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we were accepted into the trial, we relocated to Baltimore, Maryland in November of 2020. And we were there until just recently. We just moved home August 11th of 2021. So we just were able to make it home.
Wow. Amazing. So welcome back to Tampa.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. And so Brayson has continued to be in the hospital all this time. Now, is he still in Baltimore or was he born there in Tampa?
So he was born in Baltimore, and I want to give details on this now. With bilateral renal agenesis, there's a 0% chance of life. So we were fighting a 0% chance of life. So the only thing we could do is rely on our faith and take action and see what the results were going to be. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we did. And he was born on that fateful day of January 21st, 2021 at 3:18 a.m., a total of 6 pounds. And 19 centimeters or 19 inches. But
he had a good size.
It was a big boy.
Then. Yeah.
It was a big boy, and it was at 34 weeks, so he's a little bit premature, but still a very, very solid size young man. Awesome. And he has been the biggest baby. There's only around 6 to 7 babies currently living with this condition. He's the only living male that we're aware of. And he is been the biggest one born. On the first day of his life, he had 3 surgeries where he had items placed that he's needed. The most important one that he had placed was what's called a peritoneal dialysis catheter, PD catheter for short. Mm-hmm. And what that does is acts as his kidney. Since he doesn't have kidneys to produce the urine, we place the PD catheter and it filters, it's the filtration system for his body. And the process with the PD catheter is really to focus on the first 14 days. You can't use it because you need it to heal. And so we went through that. However, I didn't know this at the time. I know a lot more now. There's a lot of occlusions. And what that means is, things that get stopped up in the PD catheter. So we got to day 11 and we tried to flush it to get ready to use it in the coming days. And it was occluded with omentum, which is fatty tissue that got wrapped around his PD catheter. So we were unable to use it. So we had to go back in on his 12th day of life and do a revision surgery. The revision surgery, it didn't work out. Like some things just didn't sit right with the stitches or, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know what exactly happened inside the details of that surgery. But then 2 days later, we went back in for that third revision on that PD catheter, and I just sat back in my chair because we were able to be there together, my wife and I. I sat back in my chair. I said, you know what, honey, I'm very thankful and glad that we have this opportunity to meet our son. But for me to promote this and push other families to go through this, that we have to make a difference. And so from that day after that third surgery, we decided to start working on a new PD catheter concept where we can eventually hopefully eliminate or reduce those occlusions enough to help future infants. So that's kind of like our focus area. But our story is really about the adversity, and because of the PD not working properly in the beginning, he's had 15 total procedures over the course of 8 months. And if we had a properly working PD catheter, 50% of those surgeries could have been prevented. And so that's where our focus area is. But Brayson is, I'm not going to go into all of his medical records, but if you can name an organ, he's had something go wrong with it. But the little boy today, he smiles every day, and he fights every day. And he is most likely going to be coming home this Thursday, August 26th. So we're really excited to get him home.
Yeah, when his dad says he's coming home, his dad smiles too.
Yeah.
That's great. That is great. Well, man, what are some of the lessons you've learned? What is the Father been teaching you through this, Ty?
Right. Yes, sir. So I would say be careful what you pray for. I prayed for patience. I've
Oh
prayed for
no, man.
patience, and now I have
Yeah.
learned to be patient and be still and wait for the Lord to give you those directions.
Mm,
Because really and truly, by nature, I'm a planner. So I got my master's in financial planning. So I love to try to plan things out
mm,
and to try to figure out the future and where things need to be. But throughout this experience, I've been very humbled and
mm,
patient because you got to take it day by day. And my wife and I have been building our businesses from the hospital bedside.
mm,
And, God has continued to bless us. And I'll give you, one quick story in regards to business and overcoming adversity. So before I started my businesses, I was employed with a corporation and an executive position. And I'd been with them for 2.5, going on 3 years. And when my son
mm,
got this condition, we knew we were going to have to relocate temporarily. And we asked to be relocated to the Baltimore area because there was positions available
mm,
for me to be able to manage. They ended up, with I don't know what kind of made the decision, but they said no. And in between that time, I'd been working on my business and making contacts and working on contracts. And they said no at 11 a.m. on that day. And by 11 p.m. that night, between the 12 hours, my first business contract came through to be able to support my family and I as we went through this journey. So on that
mm,
same exact day that the door was shut and I physically was in pain because I didn't know how I was going to support my family financially through this journey
mm,
with the
mm,
guarantees, God came
mm.
through and provided for us
Wow,
on the same exact day.
that's amazing. Jehovah Jireh, right? The God who provides. You certainly
Yes, sir.
experienced His grace
Absolutely.
right there. So tell us about your business and Faith Positive Nation. If you want to go there, you can go to infiniteplanning.org. Infiniteplanning.org. If you happen not to be walking the dog or something and you got both hands free or driving or something. If not, that is on our website on Ty's page at getpositive.today. So tell us about Infinite Planning.
Yes, sir. So infiniteplanning.org or Infinite Planning Incorporated, I founded that company to be related to personal finance. So in regards to personal finance, I learned that in school in my master's program, and I did business in undergrad. And what I learned is that consumers drive the economy, that
Mm,
consumers drive the economy. And what infinite planning focuses on is teaching the banking function. So no matter where the economy goes, there's always going to be the need for banking. And we really focus on the consumer and teaching them the principles. And the reason this company was actually founded, I won't go into too much detail of why this was founded, but one of my grandfathers was severely injured at the age of 64, still working for money to be able to take my grandmother on a family vacation in 2020. And once I saw him in the hospital in the ICU, I said, I refuse to allow this to ever happen to another family. And that's where infiniteplanning.org was created. And I'm going to be pushing that. I'll fight for any family on a financial basis or medical basis that, will need help or support or educational values. And that's a little bit about infinite planning. And what we teach, a lot of what we teach is based around infinite banking. And the creator of infinite banking was R. Nelson Nash, or he called himself the discoverer. He discovered it in the 1980s.
mm-hmm.
And
So
he's
give us a
that
definition
concept's
of
been taught.
infinite. Yeah, give us a definition of infinite banking, Ty.
Yeah, absolutely. So the infinite banking, really the most, or Nelson called it the infinite banking concept. And the
Mm-hmm.
most important word he would say would be concept. And the reason for that is it's the concept of banking. And so the definition of it would be using, I don't know how to describe this because infinite is the word, is infinite. There's infinite possibilities with it.
Okay.
But basically what you would want to do with the infinite banking concept is, I kind of lost my train of thought there. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. You're just explaining infinite banking
Yeah.
to us lay people who aren't familiar with Mr. Nash's definition. I understand that the important word there was concept. So what he did was to discover this idea that's then been put into practice since that discovery, right?
Right. Yep. And the concept of banking has always been around. So instead of, the banks getting the money, taking the deposits and
Hmm.
profiting off those, we can teach consumers at the you and me level to practice privatized banking using the infinite banking concept. So basically, it's just an individual can come in and can take back the banking function in their life.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like I can act as my own bank then, is what you're saying.
Yes, sir. The title of his book is called Becoming Your Own Banker.
Oh, sweet. So how do I do that, Ty?
Yeah, so really how you can do that is you can go to our website, schedule a call with me, and I'll set up a team meeting with our team, and we can go through and we'll educate you on that because trying to cover it on a podcast or things like that, it might get a little misconstrued. So it's really detailed, and we want to thoroughly go through and coach you and make sure it's right for you because while infinite banking is for everyone, everyone will not want to do it. So it's something that needs to be taught, and it's the process, not something you can just have. It's teaching the process of banking.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah. Well, anything that requires FDIC, right, on a grand scale for large banks has got to be very detail oriented and challenging for those of us who aren't in that space. So what you discovered was that you committed to Brayson and to Alexis, your wife, in terms of helping God find a way, right? Or providing God with a way to really bring this baby into the world. And so that involved relocating to Baltimore. When you did that, unfortunately, the company you worked for wouldn't provide you. And yet between 11 a.m. and 11 p.m. following your dismissal from that company, God began providing. So bring us up to today. How has God continued to provide?
Yes, sir. So actually, in addition to Infinite Planning, I also own a private business consulting firm that specializes in agricultural labor. That's very specialized and unique, and that's came along, and we're very proud of that. And then also we've started a nonprofit called Silent Guardian Angels, and that can be visited at silentguardianangels.com. So what my wife and I decided to do is obviously create a new peritoneal dialysis catheter, but also be able to support families in the future. So what we do is we take revenue provided from our businesses and donate that to the nonprofit to continue research and development for other families. Okay. And we're really excited. For Brayson to be coming home this week. And there's other babies that are getting lined up in the RAF program. So we're excited to see what the future holds for those families as well.
Right. So if we're interested, silentguardianangels.com is a website, and that's your nonprofit where we can go and support, sounds like research and development into discovering a better catheter. Is that what am I hearing you right there?
Yes, sir. That's exactly right. And to be precise on the donation, so anything to do with the infinite banking, if a policy is designed and you go through on the business contract, 50% of revenue will be donated to Silent Guardian Angels for the research and development of a new peritoneal dialysis catheter.
So you're putting your money where your mouth is then. You're giving out of your own company to Silent Guardian Angels.
Yes, sir. I've been very blessed. My family and I have been very blessed throughout this whole circumstance. And I just want to give back to the future families and give back in the name of God as much as we possibly can.
Man, that's amazing. So spiritually, what are some of the lessons you discovered because you left a job after committing to giving Brayson every opportunity to achieve life, and then you started your own company? What are some of the lessons that you learned from going through this? Adversity doesn't even begin to describe what you've been through, but what has God taught you?
Yeah, so
you mentioned patience earlier. So you no longer pray for patience, I take it. Yeah.
Yeah, we no longer pray for patience. That's right.
Okay.
But a lot of what God has taught us is to just walk by like the light. How was the saying go? With light of your feet. Like he's always going to be one step ahead, lighting your path, not to get too far ahead. So really what it boils down to is just the three simple things. And I believe I missed on these earlier in life, but it just comes down to your faith. So have the faith and don't doubt. You need to take action, and then you'll see the results. So those are the three biggest takeaways that I would say over this course and this journey. And of course, to remain patient. That was a good one to learn as well.
The results don't always come when you think they ought to, right? Or when you want them to. Well, it must have been a real internal struggle for you as a planner, because that carries with it certain tendencies and personality traits and habits where you're used to charting a course, working the course, and then seeing the results that you want. But it sounds like with Brayson, it's been anything but that. If nothing else, this catheter alone, right? The constant malfunctions with that.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So yeah, it's been quite gut wrenching to go through it, and then each day the different obstacles that watching our son having to overcome, and just the unique set of circumstances that this condition brought on. It's been quite the journey, but even throughout it all, I mean, we've met wonderful families in the NICU that are also faith-based, that at pivotal times in his life, God put them in our lives to be able to get over that hurdle and to continue on our path. So I can think of two families that they helped us out a lot throughout the 7 months we were in Baltimore, Maryland.
Yeah, just finding some sense of community in the midst of all that, with something that binds your hearts and minds together so that you can gain strength from each other, just sharing the joys as well as the burdens, right?
Right. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
That's amazing.
Right.
So Faith Positive Nation, you've heard us mention several websites here. SilentGuardianAngels.com is the nonprofit that Ty and Alexa Morgan have formed, and it supports children who are born without kidneys, commonly known as Potter's syndrome. And then also infiniteplanning.org is a website you heard us talking about. And Ty, if we go to infiniteplanning.org, you'd like for us to go specifically to infiniteplanning.org/infinite banking. And there that's where we sign up for a free consultation with you to learn how to become our own bankers, right?
Yes, sir. That's correct. So the main focus of this is to bring attention to what's available to people, to give that third option of choosing life. There are clinical trials out there if you're going to have the faith and you want to take action. So SilentGuardianAngels.com is the nonprofit. If you would like to get in touch with us that way, we will help you through your faith-based journey or your medical journey as you see fit. And then, yes, specifically for Infinite Planning,
www.infiniteplanning.org/infinite banking. So
and I will get your email address to be able to set up an individual meeting with you.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Man, that's very generous of you. We appreciate that. Ty Morgan from SilentGuardianAngels.com and infiniteplanning.org. Faith Positive Nation always wants to know, Ty, from my guest, about a favorite Bible verse. It sounds like throughout all this adversity, you guys have really leaned into Scripture. What was a favorite passage that sort of emerged out of your journey that's really buoyed you in the midst of all this adversity?
Well, there's a couple of financial biblical verses I could refer to, but I decided not to go that route. I picked out one that was more pertaining to our son's journey and our family's journey throughout this past year and a half. And that came down to Jeremiah 29:11. I know it's a very popular one, but I'll read it aloud nonetheless. But for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. I think that Bible verse really resonates with our family throughout this trial and this period and overcoming the adversity that we faced. That God has the hope and he has the future, and he'll provide a way no matter what's thrown your way.
That's amazing to have been through everything you guys have been through and to just cling on to and claim the promise of Jeremiah 29:11. That's a beautiful thing. Ty Morgan, you can go to SilentGuardianAngels.com and help other families like Ty and Alexis who are on a similar medical journey of adversity with a child. Or you can go to infiniteplanning.com .org, infiniteplanning.org/infinite banking. And there you can find out more information about how you can become your own banker and some excellent educational materials around personal finance. And know that as you do and as you participate, you can sign up for a free consultation with Ty so you can learn more information, as well as should you choose to do business with Ty through infiniteplanning.org, that half of all of the money he collects from the fees goes right to silentguardianangels.com. That's quite a commitment. Ty, thank you so much for the gift of this time. I'm inspired by your journey. I'm encouraged. I shall pray for you and Alexis Brayson. And then what's the older sibling's name?
Her name is Blakely. She'll be turning 7 this month.
Blakely. That's right. We definitely want to pray for Blakely as well. We pray God's blessings on each and every one of you, Ty. Thanks for the gift of your time and for sharing your story today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joey.
Thanks for listening to Faith Positive Radio, the Christian business coaching conversation that increases your faith with greater joy at work so you love God and others more. Suggest guests and ask questions when you email Dr. Joey at info@getpositive.today. And be sure to get your free gift of the 5 positive business conversations to have today coaching program at getpositive.today. Until next time, may God bless you with everything your heart can hope for and more than your mind can imagine.